Hey guys, Rogue Flamingo here, bringing you my detailed class guide for the Willbender. So in this video we're going to be having a look at the Willbender's exclusive weapon and the weapon skills that gives you. Be looking at the healing, utility and elite skills. I'll also be looking at the profession mechanics for the Willbender, and then we'll be going into the traits and specializations, as well as giving you a combat demonstration. So if you're interested in playing as a Willbender, or if you already are and you want to know more, stay tuned and we'll get started right now. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to give you a quick profession overview for the Willbender. So the Willbender is the third elite specialization for the Guardian, and is unlocked in the End of Dragons expansion. The Willbender's blade work is unmatched, and wielding a sword in their offhand gives them extra opportunities for ruthless cuts. So you guessed it, you get an offhand sword, so it's sort of a samurai theme they're going for here, so it's a dual sword Guardian, and all of the abilities that you get here, your new utilities and everything, they're physical skills, so they're based a lot around mobility and moving around and stuff like that, pulling off some cool kung fu moves and things like that. So we're going to be going through all of them, as well as obviously the new profession skills along here, which also focus a lot on movement and doing damage that way. So it's quite a cool take on the Guardian, changes it quite a lot, so I am looking forward to going into all of these cool new skills. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is the weapon skills. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the Willbender's exclusive weapon and the individual weapon skills. So our exclusive weapon for the Willbender is the offhand sword. So obviously, the whole point is that it's a dual sword wielding Guardian, but the main hand sword is already a usable weapon, and those skills haven't changed at all. So you're actually only gaining 2 new weapon skills. That's the only downside, I suppose, of getting an offhand as the exclusive weapon, is that you actually only have 2 new skills to explore. But obviously the main hand sword's quite a popular weapon for the Guardian anyway, so hopefully this will be a good offhand pairing that we can go with. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to have a little look at these 2 new skills. I'll read through it and let you know what they do, and then after that we'll demonstrate these skills as well. Okay, so our first skill here for the offhand sword is called Executioner's Calling, and it has a 15-second cooldown. So strike your foe with rending force. After a successful hit, follow up this attack with a dual strike. So this is a melee ranged ability, and it can hit up to 3 targets. So obviously you're going to hit the enemy, you're going to stick vulnerability on them, which is good because it means your other skills will do even more damage. And then as long as you successfully hit, you're going to get a dual strike after that, which is obviously where you can do a lot of the damage. So let's try this out on this poor little golem right here. Hopefully we'll get like cool animations and stuff on this elite spec as well. So bang and then bang. Is that a double strike? With a dual strike. Oh, okay. Alright. So that's like a 2 sword, as in dual strike. You hit them with both your swords or whatever. Obviously I've only actually got 1 sword here, so it's not properly showing it, but let's just demonstrate that. So bang, and then as you can see, sort of whacks them with both, but as I've only got 1 equipped, I'll obviously demonstrate that later in the combat demonstration. I'll go through all the skills, but that's pretty cool there, and I like the colours and stuff that they've got on the animations, so hopefully we'll see a bit more of that. So our second skill on this sword is Advancing Strike, which has a 20-second cooldown. So quickly dash towards your foe and then shadow step to deliver a debilitating attack that first slows and then immobilizes your enemies. So this one can be done from mid-range, so 500 range. So it says first you're going to dash towards your foe and then shadow step, which is like a teleport. You're going to do a debilitating attack, which is where you put immobilize on the enemy. And put slow on them, so their skills and actions are slower, as well as not being able to move, and you can hit up to 3 targets with it. So it seems like a pretty good one for mobility, moving around the battlefield, as well as a bit of crowd control and mobilizing enemies and stuff like that. So I think this would be a pretty good addition to your skill set as well. So let's try this out now. So we're going to dash and shadow step, so dash and then shadow step. Oh, that's really cool. And then obviously put slow and immobilizes the enemy as well. So that's going to be really good. I mean, you can't do it from really far away, so sort of mid-range, so probably about here or so. Don't try and do it from all the way over here or so. it won't work. But yeah, it's cool to have a shadow step there. I mean, shadow steps normally you have on like the thief and quite a lot on the revenant as well, I think. So it's nice to have that with the guardian as well. So let's just quickly, boom, there you go. It's a really cool, that sort of spinning punch as well, which I really like. So that is our weapon skills. So obviously that's like sort of a quick section there because there's only 2 weapon skills, but hopefully paired with the main hand sword for the guardian will be a pretty good combination. So that's probably what I'm expecting to want to play on this particular elite spec. So that's the weapon skill. So the next thing we're going to do is have a look at the new healing skill. Alright, so now it's time to look at the new and exclusive healing skill for the Willbender. So this is our first look at one of the physical skills that we've got. So this is called Reversal of Fortune. So it does have a 2-second cooldown there, but it's actually a like an ammo skill. So it's got 2 charges, and the count recharge is 20 seconds. So once you use it, it will take. So you got two counts there, and it will take 20 seconds for one of those counts to come back. So guard yourself with light, negating the next incoming strike and healing you instead, even if the strike would have been lethal. If an effect causes damage that would be lethal, that damage will be negated and you will be healed instead. If no attacks or lethal damage are negated, you'll be healed for the lowest set amount. As you can see, it's got the figures here. So if you're attacked while using it, so it's only going to last for a second, so if you're attacked during that, then you're going to get a nice decent heal there. But if you're not attacked during that, you're actually only going to get half the heal. So obviously you want to time this quite well. You pretty much want to use it like a bit like a block, basically. So as you're about to get hit by an enemy, utilize this skill, and as they hit you, not only will it negate that attack, so you're not actually going to take any damage, but you're also going to get a nice big chunk heal as well. So it would be a matter of timing this skill for it to be, have its optimal effect. If you just smack this skill out randomly and don't get hit, yeah, you will get a heal, but it's going to be half of what you would have got, and you won't get the negated damage as well. So obviously that's something to bear in mind. And it did say about if the attack is lethal as well, that damage will be negated and you'll be healed instead as well. So even if that attack would have killed you, it keeps you alive and heals you, giving you another chance. So it really is good to be using in those situations. And as like I said, because it's an ammo skill, it's not like you use it and you can't use it for 20 seconds. You can use it twice, and the after 20 seconds it will count back and you'll get another charge. So that's pretty cool. So let's just try this out then. So obviously I'm not going to show you getting hit because it's just golems, but let me just demonstrate. So bam, use that, and you can see you've got that period there. So it's a decent amount of time there. If you can, shouldn't be too hard to time, and then you can see you've got 20 seconds where that bar is going to fill up and you're going to get that count back. So just there, so you can see it's almost like a block, like if you're boxing the enemy or anything, which is obviously the point. Is these are like physical skills and stuff like that. So it's a bit like if you're sparring with someone, you can block, and you can't move while using it by the looks of it, but it only lasts for a second or so. So it's just about timing that skill. I think it could be quite effective though, if it's giving you that amount of heal, and you can use it so frequently. I mean, it's back again already. That you can spend a lot of time healing yourself there. So look, you can see, there you go, and you can get another heal there. So that's going to be a pretty effective healing skill. I feel like it's just going to be one of those ones that you can't just smash it whenever you need it. If you want to get as good a heal as possible, you do need to time it properly. So bear that in mind. Okay, so that is the healing skill for the Willbender. So now we're going to have a look at the new utility skills. Alright, so now it's time for the new and exclusive utility skills for the Willbender. And these are obviously all physical skills. So let's have a look. So as normal, we've got a whole new bar here of 4 new physical skills to add to our utility skills. So we can choose from these as long as we're using this elite spec. And our first one is Flash Combo. So this is shadow step to your target and strike at them multiple times. If all attacks hit, gain access to repose. So as you can see, it gives you an extra ability there. So it's got a 25-second cooldown, and like I said, it's just a teleport. you can do it from 900 range, you can do it from pretty far away. So you can teleport to the enemy, hit them multiple times. If all attacks hit, you gain access to repos, which is Shadow Step to Flash Combo starting point. So it's a bit like in and out. You know, it could be quite quick way of moving around the battlefield. Like I said, it's all going to be based around like mobility and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a change for the Guardian. So it's going to take a bit getting used to. So let's try this out now. Okay, so let's try it on this guy. So if we bang, 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 and then because we hit, we can. Oh, that's really cool. That's a really cool what do we call it? Animation there as well on the teleport. So Shadow Step to him, hit him a couple of times. And then I was able to teleport back. I'm just moving out of attack range from this guy's here, so I can see, yeah, this next skill. So that's pretty cool there. I like that teleport. I'll show it off again in a bit when we do the combat demonstration. I think that's going to be, it's going to look pretty cool, the combat demonstration, because I do like the sort of physical skills and the jumping in and out of combat. So that's a pretty good one. Sort of like you jump in, you know, 1, 2, and then you jump back out again. You don't have to use repos. You know, obviously, it's an option. You could, if you don't want to move away and you want to continue in combat and use your other skills, then don't worry, you don't need to. But it's just obviously a good option there for getting back out of the way of some of the damage. So our next utility skill is Roiling Light. So break, stun, and dodge backwards, blinding foes and gaining swiftness. Then gain access to quick retribution. So this has a 30-second cooldown. So yeah, like I said, you're going to break stun, which is good. So if you're being held in place, then you can use this to break that. You're going to dodge backwards. So once again, movement and mobility, moving out of the way. Putting blindness on the enemies as well. Swiftness you're gaining, which is obviously just means you're going to be able to move a bit quicker. So it's a good way of maybe escaping from combat or something like that. Potentially in PvP, you'll be using that to get out of the way, certainly. And then once you've done that, you're going to get quick retribution, which is lunge forward and unleash a disorientating strike at your foe, dazing them. So it's a bit like the opposite of that first one. So this one, you're going to go out then in rather than in then out, assuming you want to use the follow-up skill, which you probably will. So you can move out of the way, blind the enemies, and then you're going to go forward, you're going to hit them, and you're going to daze the enemy as well. So once again, this is a pretty cool one. So you want to do this when you're fighting an enemy. So I'm up here fighting this guy, and then I press that to move back, and then bam, back again, flying kick. That's really cool skill there, and you can see that I'm putting the effects on the enemies. So you're going to have blindness on them, and you can see you're evading while you're doing that as well. So you're moving out of the way of attacks. So it's a pretty good way of helping you stay alive and keep immobile in combat. So I think that's going to be a good addition to your arsenal as well. Next up, we've got Whirling Light, which has a 20-second cooldown. So lunge forward and perform a whirlwind kick. That sounds cool. Weakening and burning any foes left in your wake. So this can be done from 600 range, so sort of mid-range. So we're going to lunge forward, so a whirlwind kick. So anyone that you leave in your wake, so you hit along the way, you can put weakness on them, which is going to decrease their endurance regeneration. You're going to put burning on them, which is going to take damage over time, and do a decent amount of damage as well. You can hit up to 5 targets. So this is going to be a pretty effective skill. So I'm going to see if I can sort of see how far I can go, if I can maybe hit a couple of people with this. So let's have a little look. So whirling. Oh, okay, so I think you can actually move while using it. So I'll try that out again in a second. But as you can see, it sort of spins around. Really cool looking skill as well. Hitting the enemies as well as putting some effects on them. So I think it's going to be a pretty good skill, and I mean, who's not going to want to do that? So let me try this out one more time, see if I can sort of move. No, it doesn't let you move. So it says burning any foes left in your wake. So I figured you'd be able to move while using it, but no, it's one that stays still, and you just whirl and do some damage to the enemies. So it's pretty cool. A bit of condition damage as well. So it's going to be quite an effective skill. So I'm just going to quickly swap this out to our 4th and final utility skill. And this is called Heel Crack and has a 20-second cooldown. So perform a quick heel strike that stuns your target. This is a pretty simple skill, not too flashy, but it's an effective one to have in your bar. So you're literally going to hit the enemy from pretty much melee range, you're going to do a little bit of damage and you're going to stun them. So obviously it's a good, if you want to stun on your bar, then this is one that you can utilize. So potentially it could be quite useful. So let's just quickly demonstrate this skill. So I'm standing here, let's hit him with a hill crack, bam. It's like a spinning kick there, and it's got a 20-second cooldown, and then you can use that again. So it's useful to have on your bar, so you can just crack out a nice stun move whenever possible. Okay, so that is all of the new physical utility skills, which I think are pretty cool there, and you might want to stick a couple of those in your build to help with the mobility and stuff like that. So yeah, I think they're going to be a lot of fun. So now I'm going to show you the new elite skill. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the new and exclusive elite skill for the Willbender. So this is our elite physical skill, and it's called Heaven's Palm and has a 25-second cooldown. So slam the ground, knocking down your targeted foe. Foes that aren't targeted are knocked back instead. Okay, so you can do this from it's got a radius around you. So if you stand near your enemies in a radius of 240 around you, it's going to knock down your target. So make sure the enemy you've got targeted is the one you want to have the biggest effect to actually knock them down and obviously interrupt them. And then the ones that aren't targeted but still within that 240 radius, they're going to be knocked back instead. And that's up to 5 targets as well. So the initial target knockdown time is 3 seconds, which is really good. That's quite a long time. Obviously you can use that to stack a bunch of other skills on them and do as much damage as possible. And you're going to the knockback distance is about 240 as well, and do a little bit of damage. So it's obviously a skill that we can use quite a lot. It's not one of those elite skills that has like a really long cooldown. Like some of them have a couple of minutes, so you can use it every now and then. This one's one that you can pretty much just whack out as part of your rotation in just every fight pretty much. So it's pretty cool. It's not going to. I assume it's not going to have quite as devastating effect as some elites do, but it just means that you can use this quite a lot with just that 25-second cooldown. So let's try this out here and see what we can do, knocking down or knocking back these enemies. So let's see if we can get both of these guys. So bam, there you go. So obviously you can see the enemies around you knocked back there, and obviously I don't actually think I had the guy targeted, so make sure you have someone targeted when you use it, so they can obviously take the actual knock down of it for the 3-second knockdown, so it can have the maximum effect. So let's just wait for us to come back real quick and just try it one more time, just with the guy targeted, just so we can obviously test out the effect there. So here we go. Bam, there you go. So he's knocked back and he's knocked down for a good few seconds there. So that's going to be a good one there when you're fighting like some well, I suppose if you're surrounded by enemies, you can maybe you're fighting a boss and some ads, you can target the boss, use that to knock him down, and then the rest will be knocked back as well. So a good bit of crowd control there as well. So that's a really good elite skill to add to our arsenal as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the profession mechanics. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at the new profession mechanics for the Willbender. So obviously the base Guardian, has the virtues here that have the passive effects, and then obviously you can activate them to have a more powerful effect. So this is obviously quite different, as you'd expect with most of the elite specs. So we still have 3 virtues here in our F1, 2 and 3 slots, but they're actually active abilities, so they don't have any passive effects, so you're going to want to utilize them in your rotation and stuff like that. So there's no benefit to not using them basically, and they're quite a lot based around dealing damage and movement and mobility, which is obviously something we've spoken about quite a bit already. So it's a theme on this. It is supposed to be what it is, sort of like martial arts combat, hand-to-hand combat sort of skills is what they're going for. So let's have a look at these and then we'll try them out. So first of all, we've got Rushing Justice, which has an 18-second cooldown. So rush towards your target and gain justice, delivering a strike and emanating Willbender flames. So as you can see, we're going to rush towards the enemy from 450 range, so sort of mid-range. Don't do it from too far away. We're going to have some impact damage on the enemy, we're going to gain Justice, which is consecutive attacks cause burning for 6 seconds. You can do initial burning on the enemy as well, so you're going to be putting a lot of flames on the enemy, which is good. And number of attacks to trigger, so 5 attacks. And Willbender Flames obviously gives you a little bit of information on this, because it says you'll be emanating Willbender Flames, and that's manifest flames that damage enemies on an interval. So impacts 5 times, up to 3 targets, lasts for 5 seconds with an interval of 1 second. So I think Willbender Flames is actually part of all of these, you can see, and obviously it's a little bit different for each one. So let's have a look at what this one does then. So let's see what it looks like. So we're going to rush towards the enemy here and set them on fire, basically, and do a bunch of fire damage, hopefully. So let's see. Bam, smack. So as you can see, there you go. So it's got a bunch of flames, and obviously that's our Willbender's flames there. Puts burning on the enemy as well. So just that one strike, didn't do any other hits or anything like that. It's done a fair amount of damage. So I would say that's pretty good for like a gap closer or an entrance move. So you're going to use that. So straight away you've gone straight in. You've set the enemy on fire, and then you can obviously link a bunch of your other skills into that. Which I'll just see if we just do this. Bam, and then obviously you can whack out your other skills, and then you can see before long, look, a bunch of effects, bunch of damage on the enemy. That all stacks up. So I think that links in quite well. So I feel that feels quite nice to sort of like have that there, because I think the problem with the virtues on the base guardian is that sometimes you didn't want to use them, you didn't want to activate them because the passives were quite effective, so you left them there. Whereas this encourages you to use it and just increases, makes it more versatile. There's lots of different moves you can use. So our second one is Flowing Resolve, and this has a 30-second cooldown. So remove conditions and gain Flowing Resolve. Rush forward and evade attacks while leaving Willbender Flames in your wake. So this is relatively similar, but the effects are different. So you're going to remove conditions, so as you can see you're going to remove some conditions there. You're going to gain Flowing Resolve. Flow and Resolve is consecutive attacks grant regenerative effects. So this is like a, rather than doing damage one, this is more focused around buffing you, or at least getting rid of conditions and stuff like that. You get a heal on trigger, as you can see, but you're going to leave behind Willbender Flame. So just like as you dash across, you can use this from 450 range. You'll evade while you're doing it as well, so you're dodging damage, and it's actually like a ground target ability, so you choose which direction you go, and the direction you go you're going to leave a trail of flames behind you as well, which are going to do damage to enemies you leave behind. So what I'll try and do is I'll try and go through this guy into this guy to demonstrate. As you can see, it's a direction target ability here, so if I go boom, there you go. So it's done that, and obviously it would heal me, and you can see it's left this trail of flames which is going to set fire to enemies, as well as, you can't see most of the effects here, but you're getting rid of conditions. Your next attacks are going to grant regenerative effects as well, so probably bring some health back and stuff like that, and you're gonna heal as well when you do it. So that's quite a few good positive effects. So you can use that as a way of moving around in combat, giving you buffs as well, but a good way of repositioning and getting rid of some ill effects. So that's a cool skill for you to try out as well. And our third and final virtue here is Crashing Courage, and this one has a 50-second cooldown, so you can't use it very often. So shadow step a short distance while gaining boons and emanating Willbender Flames from your location. Gain Courage. So once again, a ground target ability that you can use from 600 range, so relatively far away. You're going to put Crashing Courage on yourself, which means consecutive attacks grant boons. So you can be putting boons on yourself. You see you've got Aegis stability there and a bit of swiftness. So you're going to shadow step and basically gain some boons. You're going to stick some Willbender Flames from your location as well. So you're going to set fire to enemies. So this is a good one. And once again, more mobility, moving around the battlefield, giving yourself positive effects while Willbender Flames setting fire to enemies as well, so you put some negative effects on some enemies. So it's a really cool skill here. So let's just try this out and see how this works in practice. So bam, there you go. So it slams down. You can see good amount of flames there. You can see the buffs around yourself doing constant damage to all the enemies. So if there's a bunch of enemies there, you can shadow step on top of them, doing a decent amount of damage. Like I said, you won't just be doing that. You're linking that in with all your other skills, so you're just piling the damage on top of them. While as classic Guardian, sticking boons on yourself as well, which is obviously one thing that people like so much about the Guardian is sticking boons on yourself, keeping yourself alive, while being able to do good amounts of damage as well. So that one's got a 50-second cooldown, so you can't whack that out all the time. But obviously, these are some really good skills, and obviously I'll just demonstrate these quickly for you again. So you got that one, and then you've got that one as well when you move them higher. So you can just literally use these, and then just as this one's coming back, I can use this last one once again. Bam! That's the coolest one, definitely. Slamming down on the floor and setting fire to everyone in the area. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a few moves you're going to be utilising a lot, and it's probably going to be one of the draws of the Willbender as well. One thing that people find really exciting. So that's all of the professional mechanics for the Willbender. So now we're going to have a look at the traits and specialization. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at the Willbender specialization and the individual traits within it. So obviously it's an elite spec, so it's got to go in your third slot here. And just by having this on your bar, you're obviously going to get the sword proficiency, which means you can wield swords in your offhand, which obviously we've been through already, giving you those extra skills. And then here we've got Willbender training. This is the first passive. So this just means, the Guardian's virtues are now movement based, giving them a swift advantage in combat and gain access to the physical skill type. So this is obviously what we've already discussed. All of these here, as well as these abilities here. You'll unlock all of those just by having this on your bar. So in terms of your choices, the first ones we've got here, we've got Boon Pact, which is you gain concentration, but any boons you apply to allies have a reduced duration. So plus 240 concentration there, and the boons you apply, so duration decreased by 50%. So that's sort of a positive and a negative one there. So you might want to weigh up if that's exactly what you want. Second one is power for power. So your toughness is reduced, but you gain the same amount in power. So another trade-off here as well. So obviously plus 180 power, but minus 180 toughness. So you're gaining damage, but losing a bit of your armor. So once again, just bear in mind what it is you need. If you're a bit squishy, then you definitely won't want to pick this. But if you just want the extra damage, then this is something that you could definitely go with. Next, you've got Conceited Curate. So outgoing healing potency is reduced, but healing power is increased. So the amount of healing increased to others is minus 33%. So that's obviously going down, but you get an extra 240 healing power. So once again, just something to think about, see which one is beneficial for you. The next passive, we've got Righteous Sprint. So gain increased movement speed and gain swiftness when you activate a virtue. So movement speed is increased by 25%. So just by having this on here, your movement speed is going to be 25% more. So just getting around, especially if you don't have a mount or something like that, could be particularly useful. But that's obviously something that'll be really good. And then whenever you activate a virtue, so whenever your F1 to F3 abilities, you're going to gain 5 seconds of swiftness, which is 33% movement speed increase. So just once again helping out with that mobility even more. So our next option here, we've got Restorative Virtues. So while a virtue is active, activating another virtue reduces the initial virtue's cooldown time by its remaining duration. So if you've got a virtue that you've used and it's currently active, then using another one is obviously going to mean that cooldown on the first one is reduced to 0. So it just means you can use them more often. So if you find you're using your F1 to 3 abilities a lot, then this is definitely something you could do. Next up, we've got Holy Reckoning. So Willbender flames inflict increased damage and heal you when they hit an enemy. So yeah, once again, you're focusing on those F1 to 3 abilities. The damage of the Willbender's flames that it puts on enemies is increased by 33%. And when you hit an enemy there with your Willbender flames, you're obviously going to get healing of 272 as well. So that could be good for keeping yourself alive. And next you've got Vanguard Tactics. So activating Courage grants protection and resolution. Shadow stepping grants resistance. So this links in with these the virtues as well, because courage was part of that, and obviously one of them is a shadow step. So whenever you activate courage, you're going to get protection and resolution, which obviously means you'll have less incoming damage and less condition damage as well coming into you. And then when you shadow step, you'll get resistance, so non-damaging conditions currently on you are ineffective. So our final passive here is lethal tempo. So each time you activate a virtue, all your virtues passives are triggered, gain a damage bonus. Gaining stacks of this boon refreshes other stacks. So whenever you use one of your F1 to 3 abilities, the virtues passives are triggered. As you can see, stacks of this boon refresh. So lethal tempo, 3% extra damage, maximum stacks up to 5. So that's pretty cool. And our final choices here, we've got Phoenix Protocol. So gain alacrity and regeneration when resolves effect triggers, but you no longer heal. So resolve has a modified duration. So this obviously changes the which one is it? Yeah, flow and resolve there. So it just changes the effect. So you're going to get alacrity, which is good. So your skill recharge rate increases. You're going to get regeneration, but you no longer get that initial heal. And the duration increase is increased by 2 seconds, so that's going to buff that quite a lot. This one is Tyrant's Momentum. So lethal tempo grants increased damage but has reduced duration. Justice's duration is modified, so damage increase there by 2%. So lethal tempo is now 5%. Justice duration increased by an extra 2 seconds, but lethal tempo duration reduced by 2 seconds, so a bit of a trade-off there. And finally we have Deathless Courage. So killing a foe extends the duration of courage up to the maximum duration. You cannot be downed while courage is active. Courage no longer grants Aegis and its initial duration is reduced. So courage increase per kill 1 second, courage duration decrease 2 seconds, and the maximum allowed increase is 4 seconds. Okay, so that is the specialization and all of the traits for the Willbender there. So the only thing I'm left to do now is just give you a quick combat demonstration to show off all of these cool new abilities that we've got. So all I can say is thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe to be kept up to date. Obviously hang on if you want to watch this combat demonstration, but I will see you guys later.
Take the initiative.